5:30. You guys ready in the back? Okay, all right. Well, let me thank everybody who's come out tonight. I guess everybody got it. We had a couple that went there, the first email went to their spam, so I think we got them all figured out now, and we appreciate you being a part of this. We're going to try to get in and out of here nice and tight if we can. So just kind of a little background. First of all, just want everybody to know that this is YouTube video, so if you'll be able to watch that at any time, or anybody that wants to go back and look at it, or any of your friends that didn't get a chance to see it now, will be able to find that. And we'll also be able to go, if you want to go, for anybody in the audience who wants to see it, you can go to apopka.net. And down there we'll have the agenda and the maps for people who want to look at kind of what we're talking about. So with that, introductions. I don't know whether with mask on, do we want to do that, or just get right into the meeting? I'm fine either way. Okay, all right. Well, just so everybody knows, the group up here are kind of the four that we've kind of been talking for several months now about, how we put something like this together. So I figured let's get the social distancing. I'll just put them up here for that, just give us more space here. Anyway, we had a introduction last council meeting about what a recreational district is, and just so that you know, it's basically we, the city, will not own it. It will be you, the members, that own it. It's up for you to decide what you want, how you want it, how you're going to fund it, and all that will be based on what you decide. And not you. This is the task force. So we're just going to come up with. We're going to look at the situation, kind of figure out what we want, what you want, and then we have to then sell it to all of the landowners in the Errol community. So this is just kind of to get us to the point where we've got something to show them. Obviously, we got to figure out what we want, and then we got to figure out how much it costs, and then how much, how we pay for it. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. I've got in your packet, I've got the list of the people that are on the committee. So for the folks out there, we took everybody other than, we only took about 4 people off that asked to be on the committee. And the only reason we took those off is it would have put a heavy concentration of people on Errol Parkway and then in the villas. So I didn't need 5 people from the villas and 5 people from Errol Parkway. So everybody else that asked to be on the committee is here today. So just so you know that. So that's your list of the people that are on it. So we've got 2 maps. What I've got is the old golf course map on one, which obviously has the green, and then the other is the map of the Errol community. Now there are some thoughts about whether all of those in on the yellow map should be a part of the committee, because here's the thing with the recreational district is we have to get, when we take it to a vote, we have to get above 50%, 51% for this to move forward. So without a vote of 51% or 50% plus 1, all this is for naught. So what we want to do is, if we need to, to look at the map, if there's some neighborhoods that maybe we want to take off that map, would like your suggestions for the next meeting we have. I know there's a couple of suggestions about some areas that we probably don't want to have because a neighborhood that votes at 30% or 40% is not going to help us achieve the 51% or 50% plus 1 that we're going to need to make this thing work. So anyway, so take a look at that. And so the next meeting, if you got any suggestions on people to take out of that map that no longer want to, you don't think will help us achieve the goal of 50% plus 1.
Brian,
Yes.
Does everybody in this map, are they all members of the Errol Homeowners Association?
I don't know. No, they're not. Okay.
When you say Errol Homeowners, you mean the Errol Estate
big
Property Owners Association? Yeah. The answer to that's no, they're not. I mean, the villas, for example, are not part of the EPOA.
Okay. Okay, so with that, go on to the, we're looking at, here's that's the first question we want to answer. Okay, second, what amenities do we want to have included in the recreational district? obviously, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is the golf course. How important is that to the community? Obviously, it's the biggest cost as far as getting the golf course back up and running. And also, it'll have operational losses, I mean, as do almost all golf courses. So kind of look for a show of hands. Is that something that we think, does it add enough value? And let's just pick a number. It's going to be $5 million to rebuild the golf course, and then so we'll have operational losses of, first year maybe 500,000. Years, past that, it could drop down to anywhere from 250 to down to 100,000 in operational losses. So is that an amenity that is important to the Errol community? So can I get a kind of a show of hands? How many people think?
Would that be, how many holes?
18.
18.
Okay, so pretty much everybody thinks it's an amenity that they want. Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, yes, Jack.
Is it possible to get a kind of an overview of what's taking place and where we're at in the process?
You should have the timeline should be in your packet.
I understand what our process is.
Okay,
But where is the golf course in relationship to, it was originally planned by?
well, okay, I want to get to that yes before we go to the next, if the answer was no, then no reason to go past that. So we got a couple of, under the Signature H plan they had, I mean, I won't put my bias in it, but, they added 4 or 5 additional holes, and then they had the Spine Road, which, came off the Vic Road, which added a lot of costs. It added some additional lots. I can tell you, I've spoken to Kenny Zell on quite a few occasions, and one of the proposals he had is to take the old 18, just like it was, and his suggestion is take the old 18 with one minor variation, which would give them some additional lots, okay? And that is on, I don't know if, I hope most people know where the old golf course was. So on the Lake 9, on hole number 4, which was the short par 4, we had the lake in the front. What Kenny was talking about doing is shortening that, make it a par 3, which would give you some additional lots on the lake for basically very little cost, and then use the rest of the 18 just like it is. So the only changes he suggested we make is just change that one par 4 turned into a par 3, so it'd be a par 71. The cost associated with that, just to go back to the old golf course, a whole lot less than, fill dirt and all that. Now, that's one suggestion. The other is to go back and do the Signature H plan, which is filling in land and taking some of the holes off the Grove 9 to fill out. So I just trying to get a feel for how, if you want the kind of the Signature H plan, which was building new holes with roads and kind of how does everybody feel?
Can I say something about that
Yeah,
first? Sure. Two things. Does everyone know who Ken Ezell is? Okay, Ken Ezell lives on the Parkway, just 3 or, depends how you count, 3 or 4 houses downhill and across from the entrance to the club. More importantly, he's the golf course architect for a bunch of the village's golf courses. And really important is he's the managing partner of the Forest Lake Golf Course, which everyone drives through if you go down 429, towards Ocoee. That part's important because there's a golf course that makes money. In fact, there's a golf course that, according to the public records, clears about $500,000 a year profit. So, he's my neighbor. I mean, I'm thinking he knows what he's talking about when it comes to golf. Yes, sir.
Lake has no debt. I think that's one of the reasons why.
Right. Yeah, I mean, right.
That's not the only reason. I mean, there's a number of factors, but the big factor,
Yeah, he's doing
the big factor is management on that.
Yeah.
So, so on that, now back to your question, I really believe that we will get more support for the recreation district with a golf course if we stick with the original 18 holes,
Yeah.
the lake, 9 holes on the lake, the 9 holes on the, on the Highlands, okay? Because, I mean, just think about this. 5 years ago, 4 years ago, the idea of building homes on fairways was like unthinkable. Like, no, that's never going to happen. Well, the community was convinced that that was a reasonable sacrifice in order to get all of these amenities at no cost to the community. And that's the reason a lot of people supported the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, build houses build houses behind my neighbor's houses,
Right.
but overall, we're all gonna be better off. Well, so anyway, I love the idea of using the original lake and highland course, and to the extent that there has to be residential development in Errol,
Yeah.
more houses built, find someplace other than those fairways.
Yeah. So anybody else have some thoughts on that? Yeah, Frank.
Are we supposed to announce who we are before we say?
Yeah, probably wouldn't be a bad idea, yeah.
I'm Maxwell, I live in Errol Estate in the courtyard. One of the reasons I like this idea is because they never got to the toxic soil and water testing done. And I guarantee you, there's gonna be problems when they start trying to turn these fairways over. And because as old as this course is, I talked to a reporter from the Sentinel that covered the golf course, and along with it, they were gonna make it into a big park and build some homes and stuff.
Right.
And they stopped it, they shut it down because it had arsenic and DDT and a whole bunch of
Right.
things that are now outlawed. And he said, your course is, what,
Right.
1974, I believe, was when it was built, was probably gonna have the same thing.
Earlier than that.
And for some reason, the state doesn't require that testing until way down the line. To me, anybody that's gonna rehab a golf course, that'll be the very first thing they check. Because if it's as old as these are, we're gonna have toxic problems, not only in soil. And I've got a lot of research on this that I did back for the SIG-H program. It leaches laterally into the water, so the lakes are probably contaminated to some degree from the same thing. So I would be very opposed to doing the SIG-H program. That was one of my big complaints, was that all this big problem with toxicity was looming in the background that they hadn't even broached that early on.
Yeah.
So I think this, David Ezel, in fact, I was talking to Bob about David Ezel,
Ken,
Kenny Ezel,
yeah.
his idea was
Yeah.
spot on.
Any other comments, questions?
Brian, on the environmental side, I mean, that's kind of like the 100-pound gorilla in the room that no one ever wants to talk about, but you have to. Those of you who are on Nextdoor, is anybody in here not on Nextdoor? Does anybody in here know anyone who's not on Nextdoor? If you do, get them on. But the reason I say that is I've posted several links to recreation districts or recreation-type districts. One's a municipal park. In fact, no, Rolling Hills over in Altamont Springs and Royal Palm Beach, which doesn't have a beach, but anyway, Royal Palm Beach, South Florida, both converted old golf courses like ours to parks. At the on Rolling Hills at the 11th hour, they did the testing and they found out, oh, we got a $2 million environmental cleanup before we can go forward with that. And so they actually formed a type of recreation district over there so that the homeowners in the surrounding area would actually pay for the cleanup. The city was buying the land from the owner. And the Royal Palm one, they did a complete renovation into a park, and again, spent millions of dollars dealing with the environmental issues. Now, it's kind of an ironic thing. Apparently, as long as it stays a golf course,
You're fine.
we don't
Yeah.
have to deal with the environmental
Yeah.
issue. We get to kick that can down the road another 50 years. But anything else that happens with that land, whether it's turn it into a park, there's been discussions about turning it into a park. You can't turn it into a park without dealing with the environmental stuff. You can't build houses on it without dealing with the environmental side of things. Now, the idea of building houses, you get revenue, you can sell lots, so you can afford some expense. But if you're gonna just make it into a park, there's no revenue. You can't charge people to come to your park. Maybe you can charge them for parking, but even that doesn't work out sometimes in Apopka. Sorry.
Okay, Mark?
Well, if we're buying contaminated land, shouldn't it be very highly discounted?
I just, kind of, if you look at golf courses, okay, golf courses have never meant to make money. They're always, you sell the lots, get a premium price per lot because it's on the golf course. Theoretically, what we're buying probably has a value of less than zero, because you're right. If you guys or the Errol folks are willing to pay a fee to keep the club running, then you've taken all the risk off the developer as far as the lots go, because he has no risk now. Under the old Signature H plan, they were gonna have, they said they could do it for free, which obviously they're not here today, so that ought to tell you that plan wasn't very good. So with this recreational district, you're taking on the liability, and if there's developable lots, they're getting the asset. So yes, I think the discounted price, when you think about what you've got to put into it, I think we could talk about the clubhouse. Is the clubhouse even worth saving? Is probably not. So,
Well, are there any lots that wouldn't be contaminated?
well, that's for them. The recreational district can only buy land that they're gonna keep. We can't, so that's what makes it a little bit a little tricky, is that when we decide on the land that you wanna set aside as a recreation district, that's the land that has to go into the amenities, the pool, whatever you want as amenities in the golf course. If there's a developable lot, the recreation district cannot buy that, because that's not the intent of the recreation district. That make sense? So that's the reason we gotta figure out what golf course you want. First of all, we want a golf course, and then second, now that we've kind of figured it out, then the other land is land that the Klein family can do with it what they want. But you're right, I don't think there's a lot of value. I think we're taking on liability, not assets. We're gonna put money into it, but even by putting in whatever, 5, 10, whatever $1 million you put in it, you still don't have an asset. You've got assets, but you don't have an asset because it's a money losing venture. Hopefully you can reduce that to a number that everybody thinks is of value to them. But to think it's gonna make money, I don't think, if you're going into that thought, I don't think we'll ever get there. Or, we can get pretty close, I think.
Brian, I think it's helpful for everyone to think about the functions and the operation, the governance of the recreation district, similar to the city of Apopka.
Yeah.
And when it comes
You'll
to.
have a board, that will set the policy, and it'll be sunshine, which means you can't do meetings, on the sidewalk or, at your neighbor's house. You'll have to be in a chamber like this to go over your budgets, to go over your, what you plan to do as far as the operating, of the club. So it'll be just like a small city in that recreational district will be subject to all the rules and regs that.
Especially, I know where I was going with this was procurement rules, purchasing rules.
Yeah.
So for example, when it comes to the issue of what's the price of the land gonna be? Well, we don't know yet. Fifth Hole has not put a number on the table. Part of it has to do with, it's a chicken and the egg. It's like, well, what land do you want? Then we can figure out what we think it should be, what it should be priced at. But I don't believe that the recreation district can buy anything without having an appraisal
Sure.
done.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be what's considered, I guess, fair market value based
Correct.
upon a open appraisal on that.
Correct.
So it's not gonna be there's not gonna be much of a negotiation there.
Correct, yes. Anybody else?
Well, just a couple questions, Mayor, and maybe you can help me out here. I read the ordinance on the recreation district.
Yes.
Would it be possible for the recreation district to apply to the state on real estate sales of property, it goes into a specific fund.
Right.
And that's for acquisition for parks, other real estate that the state feels warrants consideration for purchase. Could this something that could be considered, not for full value of the property,
Right.
but for matching?
I would say, if you'd asked me that 6 months ago before COVID hit,
Yes,
I would say yes.
okay,
Today, there's no chance.
okay.
I mean, the state budget, the federal budget, state budget, the local budgets are being crushed. So I don't, to get any financial help from a government entity, I think is slim and none.
Okay.
I think the only chance you have of getting any kind of money would maybe be some kind of storage, water storage from St. John's or DEP. They've got a dedicated fund that comes in, and we would love to explore that with the Recreation District if we get to that point. So I think that's but it's gonna take a little thought to how we pull that together. But that would be I don't think the state, they have dollars to do that. I just don't think in the next 3 or 4 years that'll be a possibility. That would just be my guess.
Just on the other amenities,
Sure.
and I'm just using this.
Yep.
But I know tennis courts, pools and things like that could
Yes.
be considered under FERDAP and some other things
Okay.
that the Recreation District has the authority to be able to do that. Which I
Yes.
think they may, but I would think if we could maybe ask our city attorney to research that.
Okay, we can look at
I
that.
think that's
Yep,
something
yep.
that could be considered where we could match that. We could
Sure,
get 50-50
absolutely.
easy on that.
Yep, that would be, yeah. Bob Goff has a little experience in local government, so that is good. So any other questions about, well, let's get a show of hands, I guess. Does everybody kind of feel like the par 72, par 71, the old 18 holes is kind of the way we want to go with the golf course? Is everybody pretty much?
All right. Yeah, I
Okay,
agree.
all right. So we're all good on that. All right, so we're moving right along. Okay, so I think, so what I'm gonna ask for you to do is then we need to figure out what lands, other lands would you want, like, for instance, which would be, 1 on the Grove, 2 on the Grove, 3 on the Grove. Obviously, I don't think there's any reason for us to have the land on the east side of Vic, but is there any reason to have the land, walking trails or, for 1, 2, or 3 on the Grove?
We pick up the environmental issue there. I mean, I've actually got that marked, and I played around with that, the idea that 1, 2, 3, and 9 of the Grove, okay, are the ones tied in
Yeah.
there. On one hand, it'd be nice to have those because we could do a lot of those, we could do some things on those that would be more park-like or playgrounds or no, they're not called that now, they're playscapes or whatever they're called now. And walking trails and things like that. Also, the other thing that we don't have listed here, fishing is not an amenity per se, but the ability to fish is kind of an amenity.
Sure.
Okay, and so those areas would be suitable for that, but now we go back to the environmental issue to make it possible to
Right.
use that. But again, without having here's the other thing. I personally saw drill rigs on the golf course during the Signature H era. I know that they
Did some
did some
environmentals.
testing. Now, they may have only done testing where they were planning on building houses. But still, the results of that testing could give us a clue as to what's elsewhere. Because if they just tested 6, 7, 8, 9 in the driving range, and I saw the drill rigs on 9 and the driving range. If they only tested those, again, it will give us a clue as to what's out there.
But like for me, I would think like 2 on the Grove is so low, I don't know if they could ever build on there without putting about 10 feet of fill dirt. So, you could look at all that land. So what I want to do is,
2 and 3, because they're, right.
but 3 is even a little higher. But anyway,
Yeah.
so we need to look at that, and we kind of got to come up with for the next meeting we have, we want to go ahead and determine what land we want to purchase. and, because then obviously then that factors into the costs that we have to pay for land. So that's the, so for the next meeting, I'd like to do it here pretty fast. I'd like to get this thing done within the next, 45 to 60 days, kind of get this whole thing wrapped up and ready to go to a vote for before all of the homeowners at Errol. So if you could help me with that, if you got any questions, I've got a couple of maps. I didn't bring them out. These are the two I've got. So for the next meeting, I need help with what, if there are the other neighborhoods that you don't think should be included. Okay, that's number one. Then I need, then what lands you want to purchase. Yeah. Yes, yes. All the golf land, yes. Yeah, I would say.
There's some form of environmental issue almost everywhere. For example, I can never remember, is it transite pipe?
Yeah, that's asbestos.
There's asbestos pipe that was used in the irrigation system under the clubhouse parking lot.
Okay, pool, everybody, do you think the pool we've got just needs, obviously if that's, you want a bigger pool,
We
obviously,
need a better pool.
huh?
We need a better pool.
A better pool?
New pool, it's got,
New pool?
it's got a,
Bigger, better? Bigger and better, okay?
but not a water park.
No.
I mean, I would say, how about a medium-sized,
You want a sauna, a
Jacuzzi.
hot tub, jacuzzi?
no,
No.
Maybe a splash pad, water jet shoot out of the ground for anything.
we already got a splash pad,
Toddler pool?
taller pool, or,
Okay. Okay,
I think one of the things that could be considered would be, the current pool up there is pretty antiquated. Well, it is antiquated, and besides that, its age is working against it.
It
I
leaks.
think by the time you look at building a new pool versus renovating that pool, I think you'd be
Okay.
better off. And she's absolutely right, a small toddler area there.
okay.
You could build a pool that could accommodate both the recreational side of where people could just casually swim.
Okay.
But you could also add one or two lap lanes in there that if members want to go up early and lap
Okay.
swim or things like that, they would have the ability to be able to do that.
Okay,
Brian, because there's not a pool in Apopka, my wife and I have been members of the Triangle
Yeah.
YMCA up in,
Yeah.
I guess it's Tavares. And I'm kind of in, if anybody's familiar with that pool, that's probably bigger than we necessarily need. I think there's 8 lanes there. I don't know if we need 8
No.
lanes. But it does have the,
Kiddie pool.
kind of the zero entry toddler type of area with it, as well as an area for swimming lessons and
Okay.
water aerobics and stuff like that.
okay, okay. Clubhouse, tear it down, build a new one?
Yes.
Well, I
Yeah.
just have a question. For the pool, the tennis courts, these things that we're talking about, is this gonna be free to the people that are living in our
Yes.
city? Or
Yes.
is there gonna be membership?
Here's what I'm thinking, and we'll get to the numbers probably in meeting 3. What I'm thinking is all the amenities will be free, other than golf. And golf, what I would think is you would get a 10% discount on golf merchandise, golf, and 10% off in the clubhouse. Some number that, so you gotta be some value to you, so you wanna bring you in. That's just kind of a meeting 3 or meeting 4, we're ready to do it, but I think there's gotta be value for you. So I think if it's, 10% off, on golf and, the clubhouse, and then everything else would be free. You're gonna be paying it. And just so everybody knows how this is
free.
funded, not free. It's funded through it'll, have your garbage is on your tax bill. The way this will be funded is through a tax on your property, an ad valorem tax. So down on the bottom of your tax bill, it'll say, Errol Recreation District, $300, $600, whatever that is. And so every year, the good thing about that from a financial perspective is it's bondable. It's easy to bond something versus a homeowner association do. You can skip out on that and never to be paid again. So this way, you're able to borrow money based on that being on your tax bill. So that's the way this gets funded. So it gives you the ability to go out and borrow the money. So you look at a timeline, what we're looking at, as soon as we can get this done, we won't get any money until next November. So we've got, because of the timing, we'd have to have it done within 30 days. We can't get this all done, get to the membership and get it, and do it right. I mean, the last thing we want to do is do this kind of half-assed. We want to make sure we've got it done right. So we're going to go through the process. We're going to get all the numbers together. Then we're going to come up with, what that looks like, and then take that to the members, or to the ownership in Errol. And then we'd have to give it to the property appraiser by August 1st, who then would then add that to the tax bill for the November 2021 tax bill. So that's the funding. So, yes?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
So the amenities are free to the people that belong to the
Yes.
Errol Estate, but what about the public? That's not Errol Estate. How do we?
Well, we're getting a little bit in the weeds. I think, what I would think is if you're a member, then you could bring 2 guests. I mean, you wouldn't want you to bring 20 guests, but, I mean, that's for the recreation district to decide. That's way past, I want to have handed it off to somebody else when this, we get to there, but, I mean, good question. So that's what you as a board, if this thing were to pass, that's what the board then would try to decide. Do you want 10% off on golf, or 20%, or whatever you decide, knowing that you have to meet whatever budget that you've set for yourselves.
And that
Okay.
all would be met in the operational guideline, or be spelled out in the operational guidelines. Once the board is established, and they would create those guidelines, as well as any other operating essentials that we need for the golf course and the remainder of the clubhouse area.
Okay, yes, sir.
I just want to confirm, the clubhouse is still intended with a restaurant or only?
Well, that was next up. Okay, clubhouse. What, tear it down, build new one?
Build a new one.
New, okay.
Is part of it
Yeah.
eligible, the pro shop, the locker rooms, and then take a restaurant portion down and put something else?
I don't,
It's medicine life expectancy.
what do you, anybody, I don't think it's,
Operational costs were what killed the course and killed the last 2 ownerships, was it's just not economically feasible to maintain it, AC it, heat it. It's a 1970s design, it just has outlived its day.
We don't
Kitchen's
have
too
any
small.
idea how much termite damage there might be in there now.
right.
Either golf or built.
Yeah, so Norm's a builder, so he's a good one to have on the committee. So, next question, okay, if we want a new one, do we want it right where it is, or do you want it on the 18th hole of the Highland? Or the 9th hole of the Highland?
You got a
Or
question?
does anybody care?
In the parking lot,
Yeah,
overlooking that area? for the
down the fairway going back toward the lake, or do you like where it is now?
Was a couple years ago, yeah.
Well, that was a pipe leak, yeah.
In the road there.
We're gonna have the parking lot and the driving range where it is now too.
No, that's part of the land that they want to develop.
There's not gonna be a driving range?
Well, I think, again, these pieces are going to come together. Has anybody played golf at Mount Dora? Mount Dora, Country Club at Mount Dora? Okay, have you used the driving range? Why can't we do that here? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, they have is it an aqua range?
Yeah.
Where basically you hit balls in the water, okay, and the prevailing wind gets them together, but you might also have a little paddle boat that goes out there and picks them up instead of the drivable little buggy that gets those things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
getting into, I mean, so I'm thinking that, we could still have a driving range even if we don't have the old driving range. In terms of the location of the clubhouse, I don't know that we need to, I think more important at this point
But just new one, okay, now.
is what's
what-
going to be inside the
Yeah,
clubhouse.
how big of a clubhouse do you want? Do we need, yeah, Frank?
That's one of the ask this question first. What lands are available for the developer to put buildings on now? Okay, over on the grove, freeholds on the other side of it,
The driving range,
driving range, and then everything
no-
else.
well, number 9 on the, I mean, well, all the Grove,
What I'm getting to is, we need to look at whether we want to go with a full-size, fully operating clubhouse like the port, or downsize it a little bit.
well, right, that's, what
We
if,
still have some, maybe an area you can shut off for meetings and stuff like that. But if we pulled back a little bit,
sure,
we might be able to give some of the parking lot down toward the other end.
right, exactly,
For development of
exactly,
buildings.
yes,
For more
Yes.
homes, which would
Correct.
make it more
Correct.
palatable to the
Yep.
developer.
yeah, because the more land you give back to the developer, the less we should have to pay for what's left.
So, I'd say down the future, being a millennial, kind of gotta consider, like, you guys could probably sell your houses to millennials down the line, so what attracts us? There's probably a bigger clubhouse, more amenities, probably would attract them, because that's the big thing in Orlando now, that the housing developments are selling. And the developer does have an interest in this recreational district to happen, because that's what they're gonna sell, so they personally, I think we should have a little bit of skin in the game on this, that's just me, because they're gonna be selling that aspect of it too, when they're selling their homes they're developing on. But downsizing the clubhouse to save costs now will not increase our housing values for the future when you wanna sell your house to people like me. So that's all, that's my thing.
Just a suggestion that I've seen done with other clubs that have done this is they set up their clubhouse in a 2 or 3 phase development, which I think is a good idea. Basically, what we do, we have our basic amenities first in the clubhouse, some food and beverage, the pro shop, those type of amenities. And then, as we pay that debt down, we look at a phase 2 development or the ability to borrow money to be able to do the phase 2. But go ahead and footprint it now with those phases, so that way you know what you can do, and also go ahead and get it permitted at that time, so that way you've got that taken care of too.
Norm, you got any ideas?
Well, I was just gonna say, there's an advantage to having the clubhouse overlooking number 9 of the Highlands, because it's on that hill, and I just, as I told you, I went out to Sweetwater to look at their new clubhouse, and they have, kind of a nice arrangement where you can drive under the, the air-conditioned space and have all of your carts and golf course equipment underneath the building. That would be very easy to do if you're building on a hill.
You also free up your, carts in the back for a bigger pool, and then give you more access to build that way with tennis courts and small things. So take advantage of the property the way it lays and how it does.
Yeah, I know Norm's he's trying to find the price of that, the building, the Sweetwater Country Club, the new clubhouse they just built, which would be something at least kind of give us a ballpark.
Now, he wouldn't share with me his costs for obvious reasons, it's none of our business, what Sweetwater's paying for that building. But he did tell me.
I'll call the owner. I mean, I dealt with him when I was the county commissioner.
That isn't really a kind of a building I think that we need, because he told me there's so much extra structural work in that. I don't know what the floor plan looks like, but he and I spoke, and then I have another contact from a company up in Georgia that does a lot of work in Disney. And it looks like about $200 a square foot is gonna get you that clubhouse.
Okay.
So, and that's a pretty realistic number, I would think.
So in the clubhouse you kind of marked off, you thought it was like 10,000 square feet is kind of the,
The one they have over there ends up being, let's see, it's, trying to remember now, it was about 25,000 square feet, counting the, lower level. So, but I don't know that we need a clubhouse like that,
that big now.
no.
you know, it's like form follows function. I think that when it comes to the clubhouse, this is a place where we need to actually make a list of things that we want to do in that clubhouse. A lot of people have
Right.
mentioned restaurant, okay, so we want to eat and drink in the clubhouse. We also want to have meetings. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have HOA meetings in the clubhouse again, okay? So you want to have meeting space, but you also want to have banquet space. Back to your question about, what about people who don't live in Errol? As far as I'm concerned, they can come and they can pay to enjoy our amenities to the extent that we want to make them available. And for example, renting out the clubhouse for functions like weddings and reunions and whatever, and retirements and all that sort of stuff, again, like it used to happen. So, but I think Bob's right, though, probably a phased clubhouse. And one last thing, I don't know if it's true or not, but I've been told by someone who I think probably should know that the most expensive place to store golf carts is under a clubhouse. So just something, I mean, it sounds great. I don't know that we need to have that additional expense because we have the room. You could tear down the old cart barn and put up a building like Country Club Mount Dora has, which is nothing fancy, but it's perfectly suitable for parking your carts in.
People in Sweetwater did this because they don't have space like we
Yeah.
Right, see, that's just it. We have it.
Yeah, you know, your typical maintenance shed and cart barn, that's very inexpensive, that's a metal building.
Yeah.
You know, you might be very right about that. It works out great for them, but it's not
There-
something we would have to have.
Because that's what they did, they shrunk their footprint of their clubhouse so they could get more lots. That was the whole point of that, yeah.
So they had to go.
So, what about, one thing on the clubhouse fitness center, how important is the fitness center?
And the metal gyms and Apopka, that satisfy that need.
Okay, because the only reason I thought that is for the people who don't play golf, is that, you know, is the pool enough to, and the tennis courts enough to keep them there? But you know, that's,
Typically, when you go into a clubhouse with a workout center, it's empty.
so you don't think, okay, so don't think that's a,
And especially when you have an expanded Planet Fitness, a 2-minute drive away.
Okay.
It seems like, do we want to compete with the people who are charging $10 a month?
okay. So tennis courts, want to fix them?
Actually, pickleball,
You want to add pickleball, maybe take a couple of courts and then, so add pickleball?
you know, half the tennis courts in the country are being converted to pickleball.
So do you want to, because I know for leagues, for tennis leagues, you have to have 5 courts. So we got 6, but we could just leave 3 if you want, 3 tennis courts and 3,
They could be multi-purpose,
yeah,
You can put 2 pickleball courts on one tennis court.
correct.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Right.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
Our millennial has a question.
I think it's the right thing not to do fitness center, but maybe we should consider workspaces, like, since the economy is moving more to working from home, that might be attractive to people who want to,
You mean like a business center?
kind of like a business center where people can go and have a workspace, and maybe even like for the restaurant, have like a coffee shop they can go to work from, and it would kind of become a hub where they have, I'm almost thinking like a citrus club, kind of.
Kind of like a business center at a hotel?
Yeah, kind of like that, but where they can have sometimes individual rooms, do calls and stuff. We don't really have anything like that in Apopka, it kind of gets noisy at like Sierra and stuff like that. So I think with all this COVID stuff, a lot of businesses have realized their employees are more productive at home, but sometimes you just need to get out and go somewhere, but have it more quiet.
okay.
What was the consensus on the fitness center?
No,
No?
and I think that was, yeah, since was no on that,
Well,
okay.
and again, I mean, I like Bob's idea. As you probably know, I've been studying this for years. And one of the things I noticed is a press release back in January where one of the recreation districts was building a new building to house their new fitness center. Now, I don't know what their situation is, how far they have to go to have fitness centers like Planet Fitness, but they were actually doing that. Their old fitness center apparently was old and decrepit. They actually moved their equipment
Right.
into trailers so they could still have, you know, temporarily while they tore down the old one and built a new one. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we might not get first time around, but Bob's idea is perfect for this, is that it's a matter of planning the footprint for future expansion. So it's almost like, you know, there's certain things you want to have right away, like the restaurant and the pro shop and things like that.
So,
Other things like fitness center might happen down the road after Planet Fitness closes.
yeah, Deb,
I'm just thinking too, on a fitness center, you all remember at Errol, they used to have a room where they would have yoga classes, Tai Chi. You don't need equipment, but just a room.
okay.
So for the, like the Tai Chi classes, yoga classes, dance, whatever. Zumba, yeah.
My wife did that.
The new thing now is body group, which is dancing, like a dancing exercise, but all you need is a room. You don't need equipment, so that just may be an additional space.
Well, that could be
So-
banquet space
so we
that
got-
isn't being used during
You
the day.
think banquet space would, okay, so we want a restaurant that's dedicated to the members, then we want a banquet hall, and like how many people? 100, 150 people?
I
Is
think
that-
you're gonna hold weddings and things like that, you're probably gonna want
At least 150?
at
What
least.
about the one they have now, and where?
I mean, is the,
That was big enough to hold all sorts of parties.
right, you wouldn't even need the second story. If you did, if you had basically the footprint of the bottom story of Arrow, would that be adequate? Is that, how
If it
how many
was- if
people
it
think
was-
that's?
Allocate the space.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
with more efficient use
Yeah.
of the space, yeah.
Is everybody? Come on, Barrington, you hadn't said a thing all day. I want,
The
What do
only
you
thing I
think?
did like about the upstairs was it
Yes.
does have a great view. If we either move the clubhouse a little bit over in front of the first hole, that view's tremendous going down the first hole.
move it, shift
Or
it a
if you
little
go
bit.
to the second story, because if you used to walk back on that balcony on the second
Mm.
story,
Mm.
the view was spectacular.
Yeah, it
So
was,
maybe to put a restaurant upstairs with, you can sit and have the view, that might pull in more.
the problem is when you go to the second story, then you gotta have elevators and that becomes,
Yeah, it's pricier.
I mean, I agree, it is a beautiful view.
Just for the sunsets.
So, I mean, that,
And that
I
is
think
very
that would give
something.
us something, at least we can start to, as far as the square footage, if you think that's kind of a square footage that would work, the bottom floor, then we can, Norman, could you help me with that? Just get some decent square footage, and then we kind of put the $200 per square, then that gets us there. Okay,
Brian?
Yeah.
Just a question, he was talking about phasing. Seems like the things that would be most accommodating to the most people quickly would be the clubhouse, that's a necessity if you got.
Correct.
And the restaurant. So, I'm thinking when he's saying that, I'm envisioning something kind of simple, like we got to have, or something that you walk in, or Blackberry.
Mhm.
Someplace like that, you walk in, here's the pro shop, and so forth, there's a restaurant over there, it's solid, it's great, it's solid, and everybody can use that immediately. And I would be concerned about some of these other things
put them down the,
down the road, because I don't see it being a huge demand in regards to some event facility. There's a lot of places.
no, there's huge demand.
Is there? Okay, well,
Oh, yeah.
That
I
would
just know
bring in
there's a
some
lot of
good
other
revenue.
places you can have functions.
No,
Not in Apopka.
you could fill it,
Look at Dutch Shred. They have that area there, you can eat on the outside, you can eat on the inside, and then the pro shop is away.
Yeah.
Just a little bit away, so you don't have to have all a two-story building.
You could always look at making tennis and golf all the same little.
Yeah, and Dutch Shred is always full.
right. Do we need that,
Strictly cost.
right,
I mean,
do we need that, do you think we need the little, not Caddyshack,
The little bar area.
yeah,
The
little,
sandwich shop by the pool.
or do you just need that do you need that for the pool?
Yes.
Okay, you do, okay, okay.
very convenient.
Pool bar, so we need the pool bar, okay,
I think
yeah,
they always got a lot of business, even up to the end. That was
Okay.
always busy.
okay.
Brian, before we go too far, on the funding side of this, you kind of got into the timing cycle.
Yeah.
But if everyone's looked at like the phase 2 schedule there, if this thing gets approved later this year, maybe hopefully late this summer, then when you get into the phase 2 side, which is basically the district has been formed, and now it's going towards the actual selling of the bonds to be able to buy the course and build the amenities. I think that on one hand, I like the idea of phasing certain things, but with regards to other things like, we'll add the pool later, I don't like that idea at all. because I want everyone to know we're going to have these things. And if we go through one round of selling bonds, whether we sell 8 million or 10 million or 12 million or whatever it is, okay, everyone's gonna know that's what that portion per month per house is going to be. To find, this whole thing is debt finance, so it's not like we're going to build a little bit, we're gonna operate it, make money, and take the profits and then build some more. No, no, no. This thing is going, this will be, the reason we need the assessments is because for probably at least 5 years, maybe longer, you know, if the golf course is properly designed and operated and marketed, okay, I think it could break even, but it's not gonna break even on, you know, the first year, probably not for the first 5 years. But the point is, everyone needs to know, okay, we're doing these things now, and then it's a matter of, in other words, we're gonna have the money. We're gonna have the money, I think I've shown this is that, this is a very aggressive plan, by the way. You know, supposedly end of April, maybe sometime in May, we'll actually have the money. Now, you may wonder, well, wait a minute, how can we have money if we haven't paid any taxes on it yet? And it's just like when you buy your house, part of the closing cost is the interest before your next payment is. And so it's kind of built into the loan. And the same thing here is that the bond, amount of bonds sold will be not only for the construction that needs to happen, but also for various expenses, including interest until the bond payments can begin, which wouldn't probably start happening until January of 2022. That's crazy to put that date out there, but that's how that works.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, because we're talking about, well, we'll do this later, we'll do this later. Well, hang on. Most of the stuff you want to do now. Yeah.
One last question on
Yeah.
that. You were talking about, you know, potentially having neighborhoods that, you know, would not, I don't want to say
Participate, yeah, yeah,
Okay, so I'm assuming that those neighborhoods would also not pay into it.
correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
I mean, that's,
So then, you know, obviously everybody's, you know,
Yes.
rate would go up a little bit based on how many.
well, it's an
Yes.
interesting dynamic. You want to have as many homes in as possible.
Right.
3,000 would be nice, because that spreads, because it's, that financing cost and it's all fixed cost. So the more people you can spread it out, the lesser the financial pain for everyone. But now you have areas that if they're not gonna vote in favor of this, then the whole thing goes down. You say, well, okay, would we be better off having this if we only had 2,500 homes in it? Which means we only need 1,251 yes votes.
I think that's why we're discussing amenities though,
Right.
because I know you expressed your concerns about Parkside, since Parkside isn't affected by the golf course as much. We're about 425 homes. But if there was, say, like a fitness center like the mayor talked about, that may be something that Parkside can get on board with. Yes, you can pay $10 at Planet Fitness.
And Planet-
You're already paying $50 a month, so
Well-
you don't have to pay the 10.
I know, but Planet Fitness is closer than the clubhouse, yeah.
No, see, but I think with Darren, you know, adding, you know, a couple of minis, that, you know, the whole cost for a fitness center is $100,000 out of a $10 million project is not a lot, but if it gets you a few more votes for people who don't play golf, I mean, that's, all I'm trying to say is, you know, you want to give everybody something that they can buy into. And yeah, maybe if they pay $50 a month and all they use the fitness center, that doesn't make economic sense to them, but they can still go to the clubhouse and get their discounts and all that. So I think we want to make sure we give
I
them
don't
all
want
the,
to sell the fitness center because I think Parkside might be something they're interested in.
exactly.
If they're not interested in golf, but they may want the pool, the
Yeah.
tennis courts.
Yeah.
Even though we have a pool, but still, that pool may be something where they can play tennis. pool,
Correct.
other
Kid,
things
yeah,
together,
right. Yeah, yeah. Is there anything else as far as amenities that, yeah, no?
I just wanted to ask, how confident are we that we can raise this kind of money with bonds? Are we looking for any private money to get involved in this?
No, it'll be all, yeah, if you decide that you're gonna finance it, the bonds will be easy, not, I won't say easy, but that won't be the problem.
A lot of money though, that the
Yeah.
initial cost, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's ad valorem taxes, it's not, it's bondable, I mean, it's 100% bondable,
Guaranteed money.
guaranteed money. So no, it's every bank and a brother, you know, the question is how low the rates we can get, I mean, we're thinking, Bob, what do you think, 3% is what we could probably get because it is a bondable, you know, ad valorem tax that you're basing on. Yeah,
Well, every house then will have a lien on it
correct.
for that
Well,
amount of money.
it's
I mean, it goes with the house.
property tax,
It's
correct,
on your house.
correct.
You have that lien against your property. and that's
Yes.
here
It-
until it's paid off.
Which brings me to the point is, the how you sell it is, you know, for the people that think, whatever the number comes out to, let's just say it's $50 a month. To me, what you're selling, the people who want the amenities, we're giving you what you want. For the people that don't want to pay the $50 a month, wait 2 years, so you pay, let's say it's 50 a month, so it's $1,200 a year, or for 2 years. That if I've increased the value of my home by $10,000 because we've got these amenities, I can sell and recoup my $1,200 plus make something on it. So I think you could sell it either way. You could sell it because I want the amenities, or I just want my value of my house to go up so I can, you know, I can cash out. So I think both options, you know, you could sell to the, you know, the folks who own out in Errol Estate.
Actually, Brian, the time to sell, if you don't like this idea, will be a year from now. In other words, assuming it's formed,
Sure.
assuming the bonds are sold. Okay, in fact, as soon as it's formed, I think that the prices are gonna go up because it's at that point, it's a done deal. It's happening. But then if you wanna say, well, we're not really sure about the bonds will happen. Once the bonds are sold, then it's like, okay, construction's happening, groundbreaking, and the first tax bill won't happen until November of 2021. And so you'll have, if you want out, you'll have July, August, September, October, okay, where you can sell your house, probably get that gain of 10,000 plus, and not even pay the first
Well,
years.
let's don't get into all that, but anyway, that's a little, yeah, that sounds good, but,
Norm,
Brian, you left off walking trails.
yeah, I hadn't gotten there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mayor, can I ask Norm?
Sure,
please?
sure.
On you mentioned $200 a square foot was rough for, I'm assuming that's vertical construction, is that correct?
Norm?
How's that?
Was $200 a square foot was what you were speaking of for vertical
Yeah,
construction?
that's pretty realistic for, you know, for your average building, not getting too fancy, but
Right.
nice.
Well, I think that's, anything that requires vertical construction, and what is the number that you use for horizontal construction?
Horizontal construction?
Yeah, in other words, like,
One story, you mean?
no, not, for like ground, in other words, like a pool, the golf course and that type of stuff, what do you use for a square foot cost on that?
I can't give you a square footage price on pool and the area for a pool. I haven't researched that.
Okay,
But the golf course, you know, to bring back the old golf course is an advantage in my mind. I think, I was thinking about somewhere around 250,000 a hole
okay.
to get it done. So we're ending up with, what, about 4 or 5 million,
So that's new greens and new tee boxes?
everything.
Right, okay.
Park paths, the whole nine.
Okay.
Irrigation?
And irrigation.
Yeah.
You know, the good news about, you know, redoing the old golf course is that you save a lot of heavy,
Dirt moving.
equipment effort as far as moving dirt around and stuff. So that has to make a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Last up,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
oh, do you have
No,
another?
no, I just didn't mean
Okay.
to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah, no. Walking trails, is that something, I mean, which I'm thinking, if we wanted to do that, 2 and 3 would be the perfect look. I mean, there's, I guess, some ways around we could do that. Does that add value? Obviously, it's, yeah, Mark?
Yeah, I would like to see walking trails around the whole course.
Absolutely.
And I would also like to see the city step up and say that they're gonna build walking trails and bike trails to connect the Fields of Fame and the West Orange Trail from.
Hey, what are you spending my money for?
Then it's showing that the city's gonna have some participation too. We're gonna expand this amenity to go beyond just Arrow. It's gonna connect
Yeah.
to the Birding Trail, Magnolia Park,
Yeah.
the Fields of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I
All
think,
A lot of that has already been planned
Yeah.
through Orange County,
yeah, we're
for that connectivity.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Yes.
People are walking everywhere, so.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
definitely a selling tool also for real estate.
okay.
Is that immune to the toxicity
I need to find out,
You're walking on a golfing, so.
yeah.
I think in a lot of cases, as long as you're not disturbing
The dirt.
depth.
People are shoveling it.
And the other thing, that if you're, maybe even adding some fill, if there are truly contaminated areas, that's how a lot of things get built, and if you build asphalt over top of it, asphalt seals it. So it's not gonna come up or leach up through there. So I think you have a better chance if you build like asphalt trails, or, I don't think we wanna pay the price for concrete, but asphalt trails with a good sub-base would be perfect for, trails. And the majority of the trails in Orange County, except for their bridge locations and things like that, are all, asphalt trails.
I would say some of them could be natural trails.
That's a possibility as well, too.
You know,
Mayor, I was gonna mention on next door.
Yeah.
Probably the next most important thing to people that were voting was walking trails.
Oh, okay, oh, wow.
Of course, the walking trail, that was by far,
The question for me, though, is, so, like, you'd love to be able to walk along the lakes, but you've got, all the lakes have got the golf courses next to it. I don't know how you, the only walking trails you'd have would, if you were to buy, 2 and 3 on the Grove. Now, one of the things, we kind of talk about it, and, because I don't think it's also developable, and I think the city would probably have an interest in it, is number 4 on the Grove, which is across Vic, has the spring, and it's lowland. I don't think you could ever develop that. We might be interested
The
in.
infamous Pocket Park.
Yeah, we might could do that. The other would be a dog park. Would you want to put it, maybe a dog park down on 2 or 3 of the Grove would be, you could do that with some walking trails around there.
dog park and a pond.
Okay. So dog park, no, yeah, not really, okay.
Is anybody here from Muirfield? Anybody? No one from Muirfield? They might not want, if I lived in Muirfield, I'm not sure I'd want a dog park on 2 or 3.
Okay, all right.
What about using the golf course? Original plan was gonna crush, I think, coquina
For walking trail?
instead of blacktop or concrete, which I think, personally, I think environmentally is better, easier to maintain. We've got tree roots that do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know where that sits as far as environmental.
I think that's fine. That'd be fine. We're just trying to get so you think walking trails is important. Okay, well, and then, so we're back to, can we get a little more of a consensus on fitness center? How many people think it's an added value, and how many people think it's added value?
I think until we get a square foot cost number, I think that would be something then we could back into based on the square foot cost. We could back into what amenities that we want to add. If we add a 1,500 or 2,000 square foot fitness center, and that's a big one, we need to know what the square foot cost would be. And if we know that, then that way that would make it simplified. I think if we have some solid square foot cost numbers,
Okay.
we can back into these numbers that we want to come up with.
Okay, with that, playground, I'm sorry.
On these, the fitness center and the restaurant, and even the golf course, can we look into sponsorships?
This is your deal. You can,
Are we going to be managing all these?
yes,
And buying the equipment?
yes.
If we have some restaurant come in.
You could lease out the restaurant. I know that at one point Highland Manor had agreed to take over the banquet facilities, and I can tell you before COVID hit that Highland Manor was booked every weekend, 52 weeks in a row. So if you wanted to come up with a banquet room, you could sublease that to a Highland Manor kind of, which is owned by Dubstred, and let them manage that piece of it for you. And then obviously you could, if you wanted to book something through that, that's fine. I mean, that's,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
Well, you're,
The walking trail,
Mhm.
you can put fitness center sites on the walking trail. Have, I know I'm from Advent Health, and we have probably the best fitness center there is. And I would like to see Advent Health get involved in this and sponsoring.
You're exactly
Sure.
right.
Golf teams.
Yeah, you could sponsor the fitness center inside Errol. or the walking trail, whatever, yeah. So that, I mean, that's
Brian-
down the road.
Brian, that is down the road, but it does bring up an issue that people are concerned about, and that is, do we know what we're doing? And are we gonna be, how's this thing gonna be managed? And I think the answer is, there's gonna be a lot of outsourcing, okay? Probably the restaurant would be outsourced to a restaurateur who know how to run a restaurant, rather than having employees of the recreation district be waiters and waitresses and cooks and all that other stuff, okay? And likewise, the fitness center could be that way. There'll probably be a contract for the maintenance of the golf course with a company that does golf course maintenance. And
Well, you said before that this gentleman made a profit, I see a profit in this.
Yeah.
I've seen so many golf tournament holes being sponsored by huge companies.
Yeah, I just don't want you to be overly optimistic. We gotta be realists, and so I'd love to get, if you get to break even, you've done a good job. I'll just say it that way. Yeah, Mark?
Just a point of clarification on the walking trail. It's not specifically walking, it's walking, biking, right?
It's whatever you want, just trails,
Brian-
just say trails.
I think they're called multimodal trails now. It's hard to say
But if you
it.
make that type of trail that you're speaking of, they need to be a minimum of 14 feet wide, and I don't know if we can afford a 14-foot wide trail. You see, because you gotta have the ability to be able to have both pedestrian and bicycles on the trail. The problem is, bikers have a tendency to ride at a lot higher speed when they get on a flat surface like that, and it's amazing the number of accidents that occur where they don't see somebody around a curve or run into them and things like that.
I mean, how close do you want this trail to the golf course?
I don't think it can be on the golf course.
I mean,
Somebody's gonna get, you're looking, yeah. I think that's what I'm saying, you'd have to be on 2 and 3, and you could do it on number 4 if you want to go across Vic Road, if that were
Will
something.
they have those kind of trails around the golf courses in North Carolina?
I mean, I'm not saying, that, which is fine, we know where we want trails, so that we can start to work on that, as we go forward. So anyway, we've got, snapshot of, the capital and operational costs. So one of the things we've got to do, and I'll try to reach out to some folks, and looking for, what I'd like to be able to do is have a 4 or 5 golf course operations to see what the operating costs are, the revenues being generated, something that's as apples to apples we can get. So Steve, if you could, and Norm, if you guys could, think about some courses out there, public or private, that could give us, would love to see their balance sheets.
One example is like Winter Park 9 in downtown Winter Park.
Yeah.
They just renovated it back in 2016. We did it for $1.2 million. Money was there, so they were able to do it. They came in on time under budget. And then they basically, any profit goes back into the golf course. And I think they've done it low.
Well, that's what we need. We need like the operational costs. What's it cost them to, to mow the greens and fertilize them, and then what revenue they're generating. So we need to have, because when we start to put together this package, we got to say, okay, because we know we're going to have some operational losses up front for sure. If we get close to break even, that's great. But what are the operational costs? We got capital costs, which to rebuild the golf course, to rebuild the clubhouse, the pool and all that. Then we gotta have some, a couple of years of operational costs that won't be covered by, the greens fees and the,
Startup costs.
yeah, so, yeah.
Brian, I spoke to Ron Mountcastle, of course he's gone now, but I would say about 7 years ago, when they were still, they had the ownership of it, he was one of the partners. And he mentioned to me that it takes him $60,000 a month just in operating costs for the golf course. Now, that would include all of the salaries, the maintenance expenses, water,
Yeah.
and all of that kind of stuff. So, given that, I would say probably that has increased, I would say safely $100,000 a month might cover it now.
Operating charge, yeah, right. I mean, I'd like to get a little tighter number than that, so that's, you know, if we could,
We don't-
if we
we
could
don't-
reach out to some folks.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. I mean,
Right.
these numbers are known, and in fact, the operating costs for Forest Lake is public information because of some things that were going on in Ocoee last
Right.
year or whatever. And
Right.
so, I mean, the whole income statement detailed is available online.
Right.
But
But-
with minimum wage going up to $15, that their expenses are gonna double.
Say again?
With minimum wage going up to $15, those expenses are gonna double,
Well, they won't double, but, because you got fertilizer
for
and,
the most part.
I mean, but I'd like to have more than just one to base our numbers off of.
You know, Black Bear was just sold, so I'm sure that all of those numbers, I'm sure that both sides went over those numbers 100 times, so they
Could-
may be available.
Could you reach out,
I'll reach
Russell?
out now.
See, I mean, they probably won't give it to you, but,
I just met a new owner the other day, so.
yeah, I mean, just, you know, if we could find, it'd just be nice to have some additional numbers to look at, just so we, you know, I mean, I think Forest Lake is probably run as efficiently as any golf course
Yes.
there is. So,
Without
we're-
anything, by the way, amenity wise.
but, right, and so we want to make sure we're getting apples to apples. I think they were built to make money. We aren't.
Yeah.
So, yes,
I know the golf course is a really main thing, but I currently live on Errol Parkway with a 4-year-old who cannot play in my front yard because we don't have sidewalks and we don't have speed bumps on Errol Parkway.
Mhm.
So are we thinking about doing a little bit more for, like, he has a bike that he literally rides in a circle on the driveway? Because there's nowhere else for him to even ride his bike at all. And I know not everyone lives without sidewalks, you know, I thought that way, but it would be nice to have another slip-on for the younger ones.
I believe,
Our neighborhood too, not just golfers.
I believe there is no dedicated right-of-way on the properties that border Errol Parkway. That's all owned by the residents. And I think it was brought up once before about possibly either giving or donating some of the land for construction of sidewalks, and they said, good luck. They were not interested in donating any land towards
Bob,
that.
there's a 10-foot easement on either side of the pavement, and the median is owned by the city.
That's what I've often wondered, driving through Errol, because especially now with the COVID thing, how many people are exercising everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere. You know, and I was sitting here thinking, man, it would be really cool to just have a sidewalk that ran right through the middle of that median. You know,
the median.
runs down Errol. And it could be like your walking trail or, you know, whatever, get people out of the road.
Okay, while we're throwing these ideas out there,
That's a
Okay.
city, that's a city.
the least expensive, because I know Brian's kind of frugal, least expensive way to make Errol Parkway more pedestrian and biker-friendly, biker-friendly, is to paint 2 lines, one in each lane. Not a bike lane, because you can't park in a bike lane, but rather, the problem is this, the pavement on Errol Parkway, both lanes, is 16-plus feet wide. We don't need a 16-foot wide traffic lane. In fact, that's what encourages the speeding. Okay, and I've got all the studies for this that say in fact, the common thing now is to narrow up lanes, because that makes people slow down, because they need to stay between the lines.
When the lawn people are there, parked in.
Well, and so if the line is painted the proper distance from the outside curb in, it will do lots of things. One, it'll give people a safer place to walk, a safer place to bike, and a safer place to park. Okay, and it'll push the traffic towards the median. And if you want to get a visual of what this could look like, go down Lester Road, okay, towards whatever. Go down Vic Road. Vic Road has it backwards as far as I'm concerned, but the pavement on Vic Road is the same width as Errol Parkway. And there's parts of Vic Road where there's a line, for some reason, that pushes the traffic to the outside, away from the median. Just imagine that line being painted so it pushed the traffic towards the median itself.
Okay,
2 lines, a mile long each, from the flagpole to the top of the hill.
all right. Okay, so I think we've got pretty much what we're looking, one last thing, playground, is that needed?
You definitely need that. That's one of the big things that,
Okay.
I see that on Nextdoor all the time, unrelated to what we're talking about here.
Okay.
People move into Errol, it's like, where can I take my kids to play? Where's the playground?
Okay.
The answer is, it doesn't
Okay.
exist yet.
It's furred out.
Then he still
Yeah.
said if he could ride his bike around home, if I could take him somewhere to get his energy out.
Yeah.
of the week, so.
Okay, all right, so I think we've got kind of the amenities, we're gonna, the snapshot of the capital and operational costs, so we're trying to, so what we've gotta do is, I guess for next meeting, when I'm looking for some help, Norm, I don't know if you could help us with any of these, trying to get us some decent numbers on cost for the clubhouse and like a pool, I don't know where else to, go, kind of,
I actually go to church with a guy that builds pools commercial,
okay.
so he'll be able to give me that.
A decent number. So we got that. I think the tennis courts, I can do that. I'll be able to pull the tennis courts. We just got ours redone out here at the Northwest. So what I'm trying to do is put together the cost. Then, we'll need to get, I'll firm it up, I guess, with Kenny Ezel, as far as the cost for the golf, the golf course. I think he can give us a pretty good number, pretty solid number there. So what I'm looking, I guess, then from this group is kind of like what properties, are you willing to give up? What properties you want to keep? And then we need, the neighborhoods that you, want to take out of the Errol, recreational district. So I think with that will be, and what I'd like to do is everybody, if you've got anything you want to comment on, and if something just hits you in the middle of the night, if you'll go to the Apopka website, or that you have the email address, the Errol.
ErrolRD@apopka.net.
RD@apopka.net. Anything you have for us, if you could send it to that, and then we can disseminate to the group here, that will give us an opportunity. So we get those numbers back. I'd like to meet within the next, in 2 weeks or less. Does like 2 weeks from today work? Same time, same place? Does that work, everybody?
2 weeks on vacation, but
Okay, you can watch it on, obviously you can watch it on YouTube if you want. I'm not a real Zoom guy if I can help it. I think, it's a lot better to have it in person, and, you can obviously watch it on Zoom, and then if you've got some comments after the meeting or during the meeting, send them to us and we'll go from there, but.
So you don't think there's any way we can do this, have people participate who might not be here? I mean, given what's happening, okay, we're all required to wear masks now in Orange County, okay? 2 weeks from now, who knows?
Yeah, well, we're gonna plan for that, and we can,
Okay.
if we need to do something different. So yes,
One last question.
sure,
You were talking about the neighborhoods, you were talking about the neighborhoods being taken out of the
Yes.
project. Who chooses that? Do they choose that on their own, or do we choose? We don't have the ability to say, well, they're not.
well, yeah, you do, you
I
can,
don't know, man.
yeah, we do, we have the ability to say
Yeah, but what's the criteria? Like, because you don't think that they would be.
supportive. Yeah,
In an ideal-
and I would say, if there's a neighborhood you're not sure about, then go knock on a couple of doors. Hey, if you were, if we were gonna put this together, this package, and it's gonna cost you $50 a month, would you think your neighbors would be for it? Obviously, the more we get included, the less everybody's gonna pay, and the better chances it have of breaking even. Yeah, Mark?
Would it be possible to get an aerial view map showing maybe some of the options of the lands that we're talking about keeping and not keeping, or let people draw
Yeah.
lines out? I can't see anything from this.
Yeah, I know, you should have the green map.
Yeah, even that though.
Yeah, I know, it's hard without a huge map to really
An
see.
aerial photograph would be better.
Okay,
See where the homes are and, currently.
what's that?
You can see where the golf course, holes are currently.
Okay,
In that area.
okay.
You'll also,
You do that on Google
I believe if you contact Orange County Public Works, they'll provide you all those aerials.
Okay. I'll be able to get an aerial map. So here's what I want to have for next meeting. I'm gonna, anybody else have contacts for golf course, operational? Okay. If you can get that to me, so here's what I'd like to do. If I can get I'd love to have 3 or 4 other golf courses, their operational costs. What I want to do is take kind of the number of houses I think it'll be, take what we think the cost that we've already kind of identified, just give us a real rough estimate. So we've got kind of a working budget, and then let's kind of figure out if that's kind of where we want to go, and then we need to start putting some hard numbers on it. And obviously, we get to that point, we've got to, I'm gonna reach out to the Klein family and say, okay, what do you, obviously, we're gonna need to probably get the services of an appraiser to come in and appraise it. If you're asking me today, I think the Kleins have a disconnect on what they think the value of what we're taking on and what we're leaving them with. They're getting all the value and we're getting all the liabilities, and so I think they need to get that understanding, is that, we're taking on their problem and they're getting to keep what's valuable. I think it's valuable to us in that it gives us what we're looking for, those amenities, but at the end of the day, but it's not, there's no value there without us putting, $10 million in this place. So, yes, sir.
So just one question in terms of the target for participation in terms of the number of homes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Can we assign like a target for that as well? Like if we get this number of homeowners, this is what we're looking at in terms of overall
Cost per
house.
Yeah, like how many homes,
Right.
what do you think, Darren?
And Parkside, or
No, total,
how many? Probably 2,500.
2,500?
You don't think it's 3,000?
I don't think it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So so that'd be a number I'll work the numbers off that. And then the last thing I'd ask you, do you think that a golf course lot should pay a higher fee than non-golf course lot?
I mean, the value's gonna be higher.
I think that's fair. I think that's actually.
Because
Their property value is gonna be much higher than somebody across the road, I would think.
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
okay.
I'm thinking I'm gonna be trying to sell this, and I just did a little math here. Over 20 years, it's gonna be a $14,000 investment that I make.
Right.
$15,000 investment that I make. And I'm only looking at maybe getting an increase in my property value as a return for that. I mean, there's no value in the club then, or who does the clubhouse belong to after it's paid for?
You. So let's just say that you hit the numbers that Kenny's hit with Forest Lake. You could reduce your assessment. So the better you do, the lower your assessment could end up being. And if you've got, every weekend you got a wedding there and you're generating a ton of revenue there, instead of doing 20,000 rounds, you're doing 40,000 rounds of golf and it's making money, then you could theoretically get to zero and you'd still own it. The property owners would still own it.
Right?
Huh?
It would never pay me back.
No, it wouldn't pay you back.
Investment that my investment bank would probably say you're crazy.
What do
So
you
you
use
invest in
with it?
something that you can't show you're gonna make a return on.
What,
I can see that if you sell your
You
house.
still have use of that.
Yeah.
Quality of life.
well, your property value will go up, that will help offset that cost too.
Just the quality of life goes up. The
Yeah,
neighborhood
and
gets
I
much
think,
better.
this isn't like we're brokers selling you an investment. We're here trying to improve the amenities that we have in our community, is what we're trying to do.
Right, and I'm just trying to
Yeah.
figure like how I'm gonna try to sell it to my
Right,
neighbors.
right.
And understand how I can do that.
Yeah.
For the people who are interested in using the amenities, I like this analogy, but I'm, push back if you don't like it. Family membership at the Country Club of Mount Dora costs $60 a month. What do you get for that? You get access to the pool, access to the tennis courts, access to the pickleball courts, access to the clubhouse and the bar, okay? And you have signing privileges for what you're buying there. That's it.
No discount on golf.
No discount on golf. okay? And I don't know if you get preferred tee times or not, but that's what you get for $60 a month and a half-hour drive, okay? So
Yes.
for $50, you could do this.
Yeah, yes.
Would this all be managed by a management company? Would you know what?
That's for you to decide. I would think that would make the most sense. You don't want to try to manage it on your own. So, yes. Yes.
Well, I live on Rockville, so I live on Manhattan, and I probably will never use your amenities. But right now, I'm looking at the boat ranch, you know, it's just, today they moved it, it looks good now. But other than that, I have dirt bikes, four-wheelers, fishermen, all sorts of people back and forth up and down. So to me, the actual money is worth everything, and I probably will not use the amenities. But I paid $25,000 to live on the golf course. So to me, it means a
Right.
heck of a lot.
Yep. Okay.
But Brian, one other thing you talked about in terms of the cash flow, okay?
Yes.
I want people to know this. The $50 a month number that we're using, okay, came from two factors. One was assuming $15 million being borrowed and paid off at like a 4% bond rate, okay? And that actually worked out to about $25 per house, per month, okay? So in other words, half of it is the debt service. The other half is the operating subsidy for not just the golf course, but all of the amenities. And as Brian points out, if that operating subsidy goes away, then there's no reason for a $50 a month assessment. It could easily go to 40 or below.
And then when you pay off the capital costs, and it could go to zero. I mean, that would be the best case scenario, but, but we wanna, we need to be objective, we gotta look at, because the last thing you want is to sell this on $40 a month, and then, 2 years from now, by the way, we really screwed up, it now needs to be $60 a month. So I think we wanna be very cautious with our numbers so that we feel, that we are confident we can meet those numbers, based on, what we put in there. Yeah,
So Brian, if we don't do anything at all, what is the alternative, what happens with clients?
well, the way that the PUD is set now is they can't do any development, they could do up to 50 lots without anything, just leave the clubhouse the way it is, leave the golf course the way it is. Anything above 50, they've got to start golf course and clubhouse. So they need you worse than you need them.
Actually,
So-
the clubhouse has to be completed to get building permit number 50.
Okay.
Clubhouse completed.
Yeah. Okay? All right, thank you, everybody. 2 weeks from today, 5:30.